All right. This week in Bungie, we set the starting line. Season of the shows is starting to wind down, and we are preparing to transition to Season of Redacted while things are winding down. Many of you are still on the path of finishing your seasonal challenges. While some activities have come and gone, there's still an ample time for you to complete challenges that require longer time commitments. Nightfall's had double rewards this week for those who are on the hunt for at least 3 legendary roles. Next week, Double Infamy will help you finish up your In It for the Infamy Challenge. Guardians can now complete the final seasonal challenge week. As part of a Bungie rewards, you can redeem the free thrill of the Chase emblem as you complete the Master of All Triumph. This week, we'll be focused on the upcoming weapon buffs, as well as setting the stage for the Vault of Glass World First Race. Let's get into it. Ready, set, raid. In case you haven't heard already, Vault of Glass is coming to Destiny 2 for the first time next season. And though we haven't revealed Season of Redacted yet, we want to make sure you have time to make any arrangements necessary if you are planning to take on the challenge of getting VoG raid clear on day 1. Vault of Glass will go live on May 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's right, Guardians will be able to go up against Atheon in less than a month, so it's 11 days. Or I guess like basically the Friday after launch, I assume. Because it comes out May 11th, right? No, that's a Saturday. My bad. That's a Saturday after the week. The second Saturday after release. Ugh, couldn't say it. So, like, 11 days. That's right, Guardians will be going up against Atheon in less than a month. The story isn't changing, but you may notice other differences. Our goal was to keep the feeling similar to how you remember, but we have made some updates to bring this content up to D2 standards. We don't want to spoil anything. Experience it yourself on May 22nd. God, like, I don't know, man. I still don't like this. Like, but I'm not gonna... I've already said my piece on it so many times. I'm not gonna keep saying it. World's First Races have been exciting events over the last 7 years since, well, we first kicked things off with Vault of Glass back in 2014. Back then, no one really knew what to expect from this highly challenging cooperative activity. There is a mystery and excitement in the air that set the stage for all future races to come. With this being the first raid returning from the Destiny content vault, we asked ourselves, how do we recapture or reimagine that moment? Our goal is not fundamentally evolve this raid into something completely new. So this will be a first race outside of previous hard modes where players have a broad understanding of what to expect while still encountering changes they'll have to adapt to. With that in mind, we're shaking things up with a new type of World's First Race. Vault of Glass will launch with the contest mode enabled for 24 hours. You'll need to be at 1300 power to be at the power cap for all the encounters. Oh god, clearing Vault of Glass with contest mode active is the first step to access the new challenge mode in the Director and the Tempo's Edge Triumph. Completing Tempo's Edge, a curated list of triumphs in a newly unlocked challenge mode, will be how first the fire team crosses the world first finish line and claims their prize. To enforce the triumph requirements in the challenge mode, your team will wipe if you fail the success conditions during each encounter. That's great. That makes a lot of sense. What prize, you ask? We decided to make the belt for the occasion, but also wanted to respect the Guardians who were the first to be victorious in the Vault 7 years ago. These belts will have silver aesthetic and will have the clan name of the OG World First Fire Team featured. Oh. That's interesting. That's a great way of respecting the previous winners. Interesting. You can see it right there as he has Prime Guard, which means that if they do King's Fall, they'll be, I guess, they'll be wobblers. Unfortunately, I wonder if you can ask them to make it My Dad is Bungie instead. Anyways, challenge mode and the Tempo's Edge Triumph will only be available for the first 24 hours, and then that node will disappear. The encounter challenges will become available again later in the season. We will have a full array of raid rewards and Bungie rewards associated with Vault of Glass, as well as an emblem available for completing it. We'll cover all the details on how to get them. I'll zoom a little bit so you guys can read it maybe a little better. One quick thing to call out is that the opening area of the Vault of Glass will now be a private space for your fire team. That's completely expected. Don't expect any backup from Wandering Guardians. You won't be able to abandon the mission and explore Venus, as tempting as that is. There's only one way forward, and that is into the vault. As many on World's First Race will be following along, keeping an eye on the action as it unfolds. Linear Voop Rifles. Ooh, a whole thing about linear fusions, huh? A few weeks ago, we talked about upcoming changes we are making to the sandbox. We start by looking at a few weapon types that were a little hot and that needed some cooling down. Today, we're focusing on some upcoming buffs next season. Weapon feature lead Chris Proctor is here with the details and goals behind what we have planned. Heavy weapon rolls, Chris Proctor. Heavy weapon rolls, huh? Hello, Hello everyone, it's great to be back. First, I want to share how we think about weapon rules. With heavy weapons in particular, we intend each weapon to excel in one or two areas, making them optimal choices in particular situations, based on target type or engagement distance. For heavy weapons, this is how we intend the weapons to fill the roles of add clear, single target damage, and burst damage. Explanation of roles. Add clear. Clearing weaker enemies faster than you could with primary ammo weapons. For most content, primaries do the add clear job perfectly well. So this is mostly useful in high difficulty PvE, such as Grandmaster Nightfalls, where you sometimes benefit from the rapid fire damage of a machine gun or the group clearing potential of a rocket launcher, but you don't really in Grandmaster. But I appreciate the statement. Single target damage, burning down a boss. Burst damage, burning down a champion quickly, or for bosses with multiple damage phases, clearing a phase quickly. I feel like right now we only have two. We have like burst damage and then like other types of damage, because like the anarchy just kind of fits two of those things, and like so does like rockets, snipers, like I don't know. Anyways, I should just keep reading. How weapons map to roles. Sword. Ammo efficient, add clear, single target sustain damage, secondary burst damage, at the cost of being next to a dangerous target. Rocket launcher, burst damage, secondary add clear. Machine gun, ammo efficient, add clear, secondary single target sustain damage. We expect to adjust machine guns in a future season. They're not currently hitting this target. Correct, they are not. Linear fusion, single target sustain damage when the target has a handy crit spot, secondary burst damage. Drum grenade launchers, burst add clear, secondary single target damage. Exotic snipers, single target sustained damage where the target has a handy crit spot. A few examples how we use heavy weapons in playtests on high difficult content, or when we've played Grandmaster Nightfalls in retail. Linear fusions, bursting down champions, boss damage where the boss has a crit spot or with divinity. Rocket launcher, burst damage against champions or bosses, particularly with lasting impression, clearing clumped up waves of tough adds. Machine gun, breaking matching shields and GMs where other weapons can't do the trick, using a machine gun instead of a primary weapon in heavy ammo rich situation where your primary special weapons are not rapid fire. Monarch, succession, whatever machine gun is useful damage type of this GM. Balance philosophy. There are two approaches we take to making balance changes. Big swings. Make a big change that we believe that will immediately encourage new player behavior. Most useful when we need to nerf or buff something hard enough that everyone can tell that it's happened, with the expectation that we may need to dial the tuning in a later release. Example, 120 hand cannon buff in Beyond Light, or the rocket launcher buff in Season the Chosen. Incremental changes. Take something that we feel isn't far from where it needs to be and nudge it to a little at a time. Most useful when we don't want to overcorrect and make something overpowered, or when we don't want to make a change with huge test wake and we prefer smaller, safer changes. Examples, precision auto rifle changes outlined below, or the Season of Arrival's high impact pulse rifle change. Precision autos are changing. Oh, okay, interesting. In most releases, we make changes of both types, in which we choose for a given feature depends on how much time we have to test and to iterate on a change, how many changes are already in release, and how close we think a feature is being balance ready. This is a great information if people have been curious about how Bungie does all this stuff. They're telling you exactly their philosophy behind it and what they do. So if you say from this point on, well, I don't know how they do it, if you say, I'm gonna hit you, I'm gonna be like, go read. When we call out changes to damage fall-off distance, we always do so according to the weapon's base damage fall-off, i.e. hip fire. Damage fall-off distance increases differently based on the weapon's zoom. So for example, the fusion rifle distance change is described below, or the hand cannon distance change is called out previously will be higher when zoomed. Weapon archetypes. Precision autos. This subfamily fell behind other auto rifles in the auto rifle tuning last year, so damage has been increased to be closer to the time to kill of others. Literally 1 damage increase. That's it. So that's a very, very close, tight-knit change. We added a rare machine gun and bow to the world loot pool recently, but we didn't have any obtainable linear fusion or breach grenade launchers. They're gonna exist. Great. Linear fusions. These are an unpopular choice in PvE, largely because other weapons do their intended job better or more efficiently without the requirement of landing all precision hits. We want to keep the linear fusion rifles focused on precision damage, but decided to increase the precision damage to make them more competitive and increase reserves to give them more staying power. Note that if we have seen plenty of suggestions to move some of the linear fusion rifles out of the heavy slot, but this is a substantial amount of work and a balanced risk of PvP due to the difficulty of balancing sniper rifles as instant shot weapons against linear fusion rifles charged with time, with wildly varying flinch nemesis values. and reduce weapon diversity in the heavy slot. It's still a possibility for some time in the future, though, if tuning them as heavy weapons doesn't have the desired effect. That's also a great statement. They're saying they're open to doing that. It's just that they don't think it'll have the effect players desire. So that's interesting. So precision damage up by 15%, which is substantial, and 20% more reserves. This is a pretty big. Oh, I mean, guys, the reason they're adding the rare loot pool so that way there is one weapon of every archetype in the rare loot pool for players who are playing the game for the first time. That's not a change for veteran players. It's a change for new players. But they still have to tell us, right? Like, so that's great. That is juicy. That's great. Fusion rifles. The recent buff, the fusion rifle ranges had a side effect of making the best subfamily for PvP high impact even better, so we decided to bring low range stat fusion rifles up a fair bit. Increased damage fall off start distance for fusion rifles, no effect on the 100 range stat, plus 2 meters on 0 range stat. Great. I don't... Really? Interesting. Perk subsistence. When we made this perk, we were experimenting with unusual downsides for powerful perks, but ultimately decided that reducing reserves wasn't an interesting trade-off. We also wanted to be able to put the perk on special and heavy weapons, where reducing reserves would feel terrible. Submachine guns were granting a much smaller magazine fraction than auto rifles. Yeah, that was fucked up. I hated it. No longer reduces reserve ammo. Submachine guns now receive the same ammo fraction per takedown that auto rifles do. Oh, so subsistence is just flat out better now. And they removed the downside. That's great. Now it might be a perk worth using. Like subsistence plus rampage on a lot of that stuff. That's great. Very happy with that subsistence change. High impact reserves under pressure. They are now active as long as their conditions are met. There's no like, there was a trigger condition. Yeah, it was very weird. Unrelenting. Easier trigger in PvE. Immediate trigger on majors and heals for more. That's great. Synthetic Arsenal gives you plus when you reload. Not terrible, but still, eh. Dragonfly now works on heavy shanks and servitors. It occurs even faster than after the Season of the Chosen fix. So it's just it's just a fix. Hipfire grip. Plus 1 degrees precision hipfire angle threshold. Plus 1.2x reticle stickiness fall off distance. 1 degree doesn't seem like that much, but for reference, hand cannon aim assist cone angle is 2.5 degrees at 0 aim assist to 3 degrees at 100 aim assist. And you can feel the difference between 90 and 100. So small that it's going to be significant. So hip fire is just better when you're... Honestly, I wonder if that's going to make last word even better. I'm very curious. All the iron stuff, they reduced the secondary stat penalty by 10. Osmosis and elemental capacitor. We didn't have time to address these when stasis came into being, but always wanted them to work when playing with stasis. Osmosis now switches the weapon to stasis damage when playing a stasis subclass. This should work for any mechanic that asks for stasis damage, but not for stasis ability damage. Also created stasis visual effects for all weapon types. Oh, that's cool. So Osmosis is now like, I'm going to get an Osmosis weapon for bounties and stuff like that, or for quests. Elemental capacitor with the status subclass now grants recoil direction and reduces ADS move speed penalty. No distractions. Triggers faster. Gives you more flinch reduction. Celerity and Bottomless Grief. Celerity now grants 20 handling and 20 reload in addition to the triggered effect. Bottomless Grief now gives you plus 30 to the magazine in addition to the triggered effect. By the way, these are the stats, not actually to your magazine. You're not going to have a shotgun with fucking 40 bullets in it. Thresh. The change is already live, but now Thresh works in PvP. So there you go. Mods. Adept mag and adept targeting. Wait, hold up. We're good. Reduced secondary stat penalty from 20 to 50, or 20 to 15. Fixed adept mag not granting reserves when applied to a sword. Oof. Adept counterbalance. Didn't feel like enough of an upgrade over standard counterbalance stock to be worthwhile. Increased recoil direction buff. That's a great change. Yeah, the catalyst sucked. Outlaw was pointless because its reload was already so good. So now it has no distractions. Perfect. Love it. Hawkmoon, increase the priority of paracausal charge and paracausal shot buff text. Yeah, that's true. It would fall off. I didn't know if I had the buff or not. Sometime further into Season 14, we expect to touch the following. Shotguns. We don't expect to change the two dominant shotguns replacing quick draw with surplus. Oh, wait. We don't expect to change the two dominant shotguns, and nerfing quick draw to really move the needle on shotgun usage overall in PvP. We agree with some of the comments that weapon usage is not only dependent on tuning, but that map design is also a factor. However, we want more weapons to be viable on all maps, and we can achieve this through tuning, giving other special weapons room to excel. Specifics coming later. Oh, God. DMT, with the upcoming nerf to 120 hand cannon range, we expect to see a surge in DMT usage, which is already high. We had enough moving pieces in Season 14 we didn't want to try to squeeze this in at the time, but we have a change ready to go that reigns in the ability to challenge sniper rifles, 120 hand cannons, and scout rifles while on hip fire without detracting from the fantasy of the weapon. Fusion rifles. As with some other changes, we don't want to bump these too much too fast. We'll follow up if needed. This sounds like they just want to reel in Dead Man's Tale to not be like... They don't want you hip firing from sniper range, which right now you're heavily rewarded for doing so. It's like 4 body shots as a kill, I think, because of its crazy range. So I wager that this will not change how most people play with the weapon, I assume. But who knows? Fusions. More buffs. Great. A bunch of hot fixes, Guardian games, all this stuff. All right, the Guardian games are ongoing, and Hunters are off to an early lead, boosted by the superior numbers, but as the bonuses continue to stack, the daily races are getting closer. We saw Warlocks take the first Guardian Games W on Wednesday, and we couldn't be prouder. Will Warlocks winning Wednesday mark a turning point? No. No. Hunters are going to win. Mathematically, they got the 10% bonus and are digging on us now. Like, I don't... Anyways. Love Cosmo. Cool. That's a good read. I am now an enlightened one.